Yeah,
What's up, guys?
dive in.
Welcome back to the Dave Goldie Evolve podcast. That's right, we're diving deep with Hudson Greening of Evolve Social. We're going to be talking about fashion, about texting, about photography, about your inner game, all that good stuff. So, welcome, Hudson.
Thanks.
Where are you in the world right now?
I'm in Melbourne at the moment.
And are you from Melbourne originally?
Originally, I was from Brisbane, and then I
Mhm.
just randomly moved down here, just like on a whim.
And what's that been like? What's the difference for you living in Melbourne as opposed to good old Bris Vegas?
For me, back when I was in Brisbane, I was very much like didn't know what the fuck I was. I used to be like a musician, DJ, that kind of shit.
Mhm.
Did a bit of photography, but then I was like, fuck it, I'll just like move to a new city. And shit went amazingly when I moved to Melbourne. It was like I was very wide-eyed, just like new beginnings. And then yeah, I got into fucking game or whatever. A whole bunch of people, and yeah, now I'm a fucking degenerate.
We got a housemate lifting weights in the living room. We are back. So you just moved to Melbourne a few years back. And how did you get into the whole dating and pickup and seduction scene?
That fucking shit. I'm just gonna
Yeah.
turn the fan so fucking loud. Ugh. So me, I found out about this shit when I was super young. Like
Mhm.
when I was 16, I used to watch like Elliot Hulse. He was kind of like almost like a father figure, via
Mhm.
YouTube. And then he did a video with like RSD, and then I found out about that. For me, I was very like shy and socially kind of anxious in high school. Like had no friends, was super like introverted. But I pretty much just reached a point where I was like, fuck this shit. I want to like push myself out of my comfort zone. So yeah, that's when I found out about RSD and stuff like that. And I started just like, literally I'll just walk up to strangers, like middle-aged people in fucking train stations and start talking to them just to like push my boundaries. And then yeah, started talking to girls and yeah, like had relationships, and I wasn't doing the game the entire time. But when I came to Melbourne, that's when I got serious about it. And that's when I met a lot of key people. You got Ahmed in
Okay.
the like pointing to this motherfucker.
This
Oh
is good.
yeah, cool.
Get some good gains in there. You guys just got out of lockdown. You got to get those gains.
The fuck up.
Nice. So, what's that journey been like for you? As now, I feel like you're moving a bit away from it. You're kind of seeing a negative light to the pickup and seduction side. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was like I never really went like full technical fucking like pickup in person. For
Mm-hmm.
me, I kind of naturally sort of like when I actually put myself out there, I had sort of natural attributes that kind of made me attractive, and I had like a very strong intention and that kind of thing. So I was able to naturally kind of get success with women. Um, but then I got really into online game, and
Mm-hmm.
I got very technical about the way I was texting. Because I had a background in photography and shit like that, I was able to put together like a profile that got me like a ridiculous amount of likes. And then yeah, I think I had 3 months where literally all I did was just online dating. Like I was studying at uni, but like from the moment I'd wake up to the moment I'd fucking fall asleep, every second of the day I'd just be on like Tinder, Bumble, Hinge, setting up dates. Yeah, it was fucking insane. I think I was averaging 4 to 7 dates a week for about 3 months, majority like straight to my house. Um, and yeah, I mean, that was fun while it lasted, but you kind of get to a certain point, you're like, why the fuck am I even doing this? It's like, and I think that's a common thing among people that get into like coaching and people within pickup, it's like a lot of them are trying to fill some kind of void. And like, let's be honest, like no one who's like really sort of normal and not pathologically fucked in some kind of way does that kind of shit.
What kind of void do you think that you were filling by,
Well, I mean,
waking up and
everyone
texting girls
has
all day?
everyone has inadequacy. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Like everyone's got some kind of wounds from the way they're socialized from their childhood. I'd say for me, because I was very shy, I lacked like assertiveness, that kind of thing when I was younger. Didn't
Mhm.
have any kind of friends. Didn't really feel like, yeah, like I was good enough in any kind of way. So I've always kind of like felt like I needed to prove myself within something, you know? Like I would feel like I needed to prove myself through music. Like I had a bit of success with that. And then when that kind of fizzled out, I looked for the next thing and the next thing. And yeah, I've always been very like driven, very passionate. Always wanted to be like really at like a top level with shit. But a lot of that comes from, yeah, trying to feel like a sense of worthiness. But then, you get the success and you get the fucking things, and then you realize it doesn't necessarily equate to that, you know?
Yeah, because I don't think there's anything innately wrong with men who want to get better with their dating life, understand women, on a deeper level, because that's obviously
Yeah.
a tough topic to tackle. And, men that want to go out and either be in a relationship or be single and have fun, there's nothing wrong with that per se. But I think that you see it and you saw it because you've been so immersed in that world. And I kind of saw it as well, that there were a lot of negative characteristics of, communities where guys were just bragging about sleeping with lots of women or putting, the girl on a pedestal, for example, and not really trying to find their own value and figure out what is their purpose in life. Where are they going? Rather than just trying to, get laid and sleep with a lot of women. So that was, I think, something
Definitely.
that pushed me
You shouldn't
away.
view it as a fucking sport.
Yeah, definitely. It's like a footy, only for dating.
Yeah, but that said, like I've experienced that kind of high that comes with like feeling really fucking powerful, you know? It's like when you're able to sleep with like 4 to 7 like, like heaps of women a week and that kind of thing, like you feel like very unstoppable. And it gets very addictive, right? It's like that feeling of power can be very addictive. But
Well, I,
ultimately,
I I think what happens there, right, is the ego starts to get, massively increased and starts to grow, and you start to create this idea of who you are based off of your, you know, success in the bedroom, which
mm,
on Maslow's hierarchy of needs, like, having sex is definitely very important, but then you stay at a very low tier in terms of your advancement in society because all you care about is sleeping with another woman rather than getting that, area of your life taken care of and then starting to work on other things that can actually contribute to society, that can actually give back, that can actually help other people. So,
definitely.
I think that it's also like a very fear-based way. It's like very much of a scarcity-based way of living when you always feel like, oh, if I don't get laid or, if I don't meet another girl at the club, that I'm going to be looked at as a failure by myself or by my community, you know,
Mm.
and moving through that progression of fear into love. I think Marianne
But that
Williamson
said,
said
like
it.
people do that shit with fucking everything, right? Like I really believe in what's taught in Buddhism. It's like all clinging is suffering. It's like the moment you build an identity around anything, like it could happen with business. Like you derive a sense of self worth and you're attached to being a really good businessman. Well, now because you're very attached to that identity, now anything that challenges that identity is going to bring you a large amount of pain, and it's going to make you feel like really shit. And then that could come out on your sales calls. And then people feel that kind of like neediness, that need for you to close the fucking deal. So that can happen with anything. Anytime you build an identity around being really good at something, it fucks you up. You know, it's like even when you win, you lose.
Mm-hmm. So
What? All right, do your fucking set. Fucking done.
no more chain action until we get into the BDSM part of the interview.
Yeah, exactly. Looking forward to it.
Yeah. So what we were saying before, Marianne Williamson put it best: the spiritual journey is the unlearning of fear and the acceptance of love. So I know that you started to move into this love state as well. You've been working with Thomas Wiggum, so have I this summer. And what's been the biggest breakthrough or awakening that you've learned from dealing with this kind of inner game work?
I think for me, like a massive thing is I'm a fucking control freak, like big time. And I had a few situations in my life where there were situations where there were things I really wanted. There was certain sort of safety and approval that I wanted in certain scenarios that I just couldn't get. And I was kind of powerless in a sense. So I had to accept powerlessness. And I really learned about surrender. I really learned to be like, everything's fucked, like there's no hope. I feel like completely shit, but I can just surrender and kind of like give up and just fucking accept that, you know? So that's one of the things I learned. And for me, like I have like OCD, like
Mm-hmm.
clinically diagnosed. So like I have just like obsessive fucking thought loops and shit like that. So one of the big things I learned was, surrender. It's just like letting go of that clinging, just like not clinging to anything, and just living in a surrendered kind of state.
In a being state where you can just be
Yeah,
and not
exactly.
worry about doing or changing or even evolving. It's just be. You'll
Yeah.
naturally
Like
evolve. You'll naturally start
that.
to, adapt. Your genetic makeup will change, your neural pathways will change, everything will start to fall more in line as you become more grounded. And
Mm,
but at the same time, it may be difficult for a lot of guys that are just like, oh, I just want to get laid. Like, I just want to get paid. How do I surrender to that? How do I let go? And so that's a big one, is that I'll see guys, they'll be working on areas of their life. And then when it comes to actually working on themselves, they'll be like, oh no, I got that shit. Like, on to the next one, or all right, so now I learned how to surrender. All right, now let's go get the girls again, and beating themselves up and missing the point of what surrender actually means, because it's really easy to throw around these words. Oh, I love you, oh, surrender to that, and let go and accept yourself. But when the going gets tough, that's when you see whether people are actually integrating what they're learning, and they're actually surrendered and they're actually devoting themselves to that process, or whether they're just using it as a facade to hide even more, wounds and trauma that they've
mm.
either, been going through or created for themselves in their environment.
Yeah, I'm kind of lucky, It's like having OCD and that kind of shit. It's like I had no fucking choice. It's like when you have like a kind of condition which is just kind of compulsive and always happening and just kind of
Mm-hmm.
like always there, it like forces you to surrender. And I think the thing with surrender is like a lot of people, they maybe just haven't had enough suffering or had enough kind of like pain to reach that point in which they're willing to just kind of like fucking completely let go and just be like, okay, whatever is, I'll be with it.
Yeah. Well, what kind of, like, do you have an example of something that was really difficult that you went through in your life where you felt kind of suffering, and it's helped you to get to this place of gratitude for where you're at?
Yeah, I mean, I've had quite a few. Like, for example, like I dropped out of fucking uni and everything to start a business. Like the entire time I was like fearful as shit,
Mm-hmm.
just like very scared about whether I would succeed or not. But yeah, I had to surrender to that idea of like maybe this could fail and that kind of thing. Other things too, it's like one difficult thing that may sound trivial to a lot of people is like I dealt with like premature ejaculation and like ED and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
I found that really fucking difficult because it's one of those things where you can't really control it. You know, it's like with business, let's say you're behind in business, it's like you can fucking control the shit out of that. You can be like, I'm going to work really fucking hard. I'm going to do this and that. Same thing with the gym. You can lift a whole bunch of weights. You can figure that shit out through willpower. When it's something like, you know, sex and like getting hard with the girl in front of you, it's like it's more of a letting go sort of thing. You can't force that. So that was really difficult for me when I had that experience and then had to like, yeah, just like surrender to the fear of that happening again. And that sort of
Yeah.
like cycle happens.
You can only control it when you let go of control. And you
Yeah.
just
And it's like,
accept
you
your
got to get
insecurities and your flaws.
like you accept like, you know, some of your biggest fears. Like for me, because a lot of my ego is around, you know, sex and being good with girls and shit. When I went through that, it was really fucking difficult for me because yeah, it hit my ego massively. And it's like I had no fucking control over that shit. So for me, it was like, yeah, I had to accept that. I had to just be like, okay, this is what's happening now. Like, can I be okay with the pain? You know, can I be okay with the feeling of powerlessness? Can I just surrender and be like, yeah, okay.
Talk about that a
So
lot.
yeah.
Start to love those emotions. And drop another quote: everything can be taken from a man, but the last of the human freedoms to choose one's attitudes in any given set of circumstances. That was Viktor Frankl, and he was in the Holocaust, like he suffered a lot, and yet the attitude was still under his control. So, that attitude that we have, whether to accept our circumstances or whether to resist them, whether to fight them, whether to suffer through them, or whether to love them. Now, I'm not sure. Can you talk about this stuff over text with girls these days in 2020?
That's something I'm very much experimenting with at the moment, is kind of being more authentic with like how I date. That's something completely new for me because like I said, I used to fucking view all this shit like a sport. Like, how can I fuck like literally every girl I go on a date with? And for a while there, I was like legitimately doing that. Like my entire household, all of us.
Yeah.
Just like
Olympic
every
champions.
girl on a date with, we're just like fuck, just like fucking left, right, and center. And you develop like you think like that shit's the norm, right?
Yeah.
Like it develop those high expectations.
It got so bad to the point where like we used to have like 3 or 4 people living here. On like a Friday, Saturday night, you would legit just hear like moaning nonstop. Like we would have noise complaints, like because we had 3 bedrooms, so all you would just hear is like banging from each bedroom, and like sometimes people would swap. Like even thing is, I've had the same realization as Hudson. I was like, what the fuck's the point? Because like you do it for enough time, it's like, okay, what's like the purpose of this? And for me, I kind of realized I was doing it out of ego, like betterment, and I realized like this is like not for me, and it fucked me up a little bit mentally, and I had to kind of take a step back. But now I'm like, I would say better. I'm in a relationship and everything.
Yeah, Ahmed's not all about it.
What's your mate's name? What's
As
your
he
mate's
does
name?
his fucking jokes off in the mirror.
Hudson, his name's Essie?
No, Ahmed. That's his
name. Ahmed. Okay, cool. What's up, Ahmed? Thanks for jumping on the podcast. Special guest appearance. We enjoyed that. So, Hudson, let's dive into it a little bit deeper. You are a specialist in texting, in online, dating. So, what have been your biggest takeaways on the evolution of online dating in the last few years, and especially this year during the pandemic, when everyone, whether they like it or not, is forced to, up their online dating skills because so many people are meeting online?
I mean, the circumstances have changed a little bit, but still the same principles apply. You know, what's attractive is still what's attractive, you know,
What
now.
what are the principles? What is attractive online?
I mean, that is, yeah, it's a very fucking broad topic that I've spent a lot of time really thinking about. I mean, obviously, there's the way I see it. There is characteristics that are kind of attractive across the board, and then there is also, you know, there's variance between every girl. It's like, of course, demographics and compatibility plays a big part, and there's always like these different archetypes of personalities within girls, and not every girl is going to react to the same kind of behavior. Again, there's kind of like there's an authentic approach, and then there's kind of like the Machiavellian fucking technical approach. For me, with my texting, to be fully honest, like I have been very fucking technical. I have been very precise about the way I text, and I very much like catered my approach to every girl and their personality and their psychology. And the thing is, as far as texting goes, it's very effective. Like when you look at concepts like, let's say, frame control, compliance, baiting, open loops, this kind of thing, when you really understand these concepts, you know, and playing to girls' confirmation biases and things like that, it is very effective.
To get laid.
To get laid. For me personally, with the dates, I didn't really do like that much like technical shit on dates. Like I kind of was kind of just free flowing. It's like I wasn't really against using techniques in person, but I didn't really like need to. You know, I'll tell a few maybe canned stories and like preemptively handle concerns and maybe like a few of those things. But I wouldn't like, yeah, it's not like everything I say would be part of some fucking sequence. It's like, yeah, on my dates, I was pretty natural.
But what about the guys who they're just learning this technical stuff, and then when they get out on a date, they don't know how to be authentic. They don't know how to be real. And maybe they even really start to like the girl and they want to get her into a relationship. And then the scripts get thrown away because you can't use a script for, 5 years straight. So
again,
how does
like,
that translate? What do you think?
I'm convinced that like in person, like, you know, girls feel why you're saying what you're saying, right? Like they feel the intention behind all your behaviors, what you're doing. That's why technical game, it just doesn't really work in person, right? It does work over text. You know, I know that for a fact. It's just how it is. Because they can't feel any lack of congruence. You know, they can't like, you know, they just see the text. They don't actually feel it. But in person, they actually feel you emotionally.
You really feel like someone can actually get a good sense of your energy based off of a text message as well?
Certain words will trigger certain emotions, definitely. Beyond that, I don't know. All I could say is I've used a lot of like line sequences and techniques, and they've been effective as fuck over text.
Have you ever had a girl show you her Tinder or Bumble, okay, and you actually went through with her and saw, all right, this guy is being more authentic, this guy is just being straight boring and weird, and this guy is being very much of a pickup artist?
Yeah, no, I've done that numerous amounts of times, and
what do the
yeah,
girls usually say to you? Because the reason why I bring it up is I've got, a girl who I've been going through the same thing with her right now. And it's like, oh my God, that guy is so weird. And he's got really nice pictures, but he doesn't know how to text. Okay. He's just being super, uncalibrated and weird and just, very boring, very bland. And then you've got a guy who, and then you've got a guy who, one sec. And then you've got a guy who is very pickup-y, okay? And he's got all the lines and all the techniques and the structures. And sometimes the girls will play along with it, but they'll also see right through it. And then you've got someone who's like a little bit more unique and original and creative and outside the box. And then that's the guy that the girl actually thinks that she could be with long term.
You see, the thing is, like, even though I use line sequences and that kind of thing, it's like none of them come across as gamey. That's the thing. It's like, even though they are game, they don't come across as gamey, which I get, it's interesting. And another thing too is it's not all lines and sequences. I do follow a lot of, like, I guess, techniques and concepts which govern my thought process and that kind of thing. But it is very much manipulative in managing perceptions, which is something I'm trying to, I'm experimenting with being authentic over text as well. So for me, I'm at a stage where I'm trying out both and I'm kind of seeing how they work. That said, I still think you got to be somewhat tactful about the way you communicate. Like, one thing is, what do you just say the first thing that pops to your fucking mind?
Why not? I mean, why would you not? Why would you not do that? What would be the disadvantage of saying what actually came into your mind?
Well, I would argue that the first thing that pops to your mind isn't even really the true self necessarily. That itself is kind of like a manifestation of ego. It's like, I feel like if you're really going to do honesty and vulnerability, it has to be more than just you saying the first thing that pops to your mind, because that can just be like uncalibrated, socially unaware fucking autism, to be honest.
But like right now, when we're having this conversation, are we not saying to each other the first thing that comes to our mind and then just letting it naturally flow?
Yeah, we are. And maybe there's a bit of autism in there.
And maybe there is, but maybe that's the beauty in it, is that it is authentic.
I feel like you still need empathy. That's the thing. I feel like, when you're in front of a girl, it's like, I remember when Social Prime, they talked about honesty, and they kind of redefined what it meant. I think by the end, they had a better definition for what it was. And I think what they said was like, honesty is more about expressing whatever's emotionally relevant to you in the moment. So I don't think it should just be you saying to a girl exactly just whatever's on your fucking mind. Because then you could just straight up offend, say the most, like, you still need some social awareness and that kind of thing. And it needs to come from a certain place.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. Saying the first thing that comes into your mind, if it has no, empathy or respect or, calibration to the type of girl, to the situation, could be just straight up stupid. It could be just straight up rude.
I mean, I'm saying that from experience, bro. Yeah. I went on a date and I said first thing that pops to mind. It was fucking hilarious.
and at the same time, it could be exactly what that girl wanted to hear. And she could just it could make her panties wet, and she could be like, whoa, like, was that really what you were thinking? Because that was what I was thinking too. So, I think it's kind of hit or miss there, with the experiences that you've had, I'm sure, where the sexual escalation happened very rapidly. Sometimes it really was like the first thing that came to your mind, or that animalistic emotion, and you acted on it, and she liked it for some reason or another. The chemistry was there, and so it hit and it clicked, and it was just like boom, boom, bam, bam. Before you know it, you're in the bedroom having a great time.
Or intention, it's like, if you have a clear intention, everything else, your thoughts, behaviors, and everything just sort of falls in alignment with that. And I think that was one of the things that made me very consistent with like dates back when I was sort of in that rampage kind of state, was that my intention was very clear. Like, I wanted to fuck every girl I was on a date with, right? So it was like a very clear intention.
Now, do you think that right now women are more keen to, are they still keen to just meet up for that, one night stand per se, okay, or that quick escalation with the coronavirus that occurred, or is it more of a slow play, longer game now that the pandemic's happened?
Fuck no. It's very much like, yeah, they're more down to just meet straight at the house. I mean, in Melbourne, it's like eased a little bit now. You can go to bars. You have to fucking book in advance. Yeah, that said, like when you got a really good profile and you're really good with texting, like a lot of girls are just keen to fucking meet straight at your house. I'm kind of getting over that, to be honest. Like, I'm not like, I'm no longer trying to fuck like, you know, every girl. It's like, I want to make sure that I actually really connect with her and have chemistry, honestly, myself, you know, because I'm questioning why I'm even fucking dating. You know, I'm asking those kind of questions, and it's like, you shouldn't just fuck girls just to get a number and just to, you know, self-aggrandize. So I'm trying to sort of pull away from that. But that said, it's strange doing that. You know, it's strange breaking those old habits.
Why is it strange, do you think, to connect with someone on a deeper level before you, let's say, sleep with them?
I have so much fucking conditioning in my head. Like, for me, it would feel very weird to not have sex on the first date. Like, it would feel, you know, I would have thoughts in my head like, oh, you know, that's like a fucking beta thing to do. Yeah, I still have a lot of conditioning, which is kind of like, oh, you know, all women are like hypergamous and all that sort of thing.
Red pill
Which
ideology.
I do believe there is truth to that shit.
Yeah.
At this current state, I may change my opinion in the future, but from what I've experienced and what I've seen, a lot of it does sound true. But that said, you know, like all humans, right? Like we're all run by our fucking monkey brains. It's not just women. We're both hypergamous, okay? Males too. Yeah, but you know, just getting over that sort of conditioning and just being okay with, you know, not doing the most alpha shit on every fucking date, you know, not having to be the, you know, most attractive guy. Who gives a fuck, you know?
Absolutely. And I had met a girl, left an impact on me. She said that she wouldn't, you know, be sexually active with a guy until she actually knew them for 4, 6, 8 months, something like that. And I thought, oh my gosh, like coming from, I don't know, kind of a similar mindset as you, right? Like I never thought that that would be possible. I thought it would always be the quick, rapid escalation. And now this year, you know, I have a relationship and we were like long distance for the first, you know, half the year. So, you know, when we finally did meet, there was that incredible chemistry built up. Okay. And everything physical was like that much better because you had an escalated sense of your emotions and the touch, and yeah, maybe some expectations were built up there too. And if you could fulfill them, it'd be like fucking amazing. So I definitely understand where you're coming from, and I think that a lot of guys that listen to my podcast will resonate with, you know, where you were at or are at or what you're going through, because it's so easy to get sucked down that rabbit hole of, you know, thinking that you need to escalate so quickly with women and sleep with a lot of them in order to validate yourself and have success in that area of your life, when in reality that's one way, that's one path. But there's another way, which is like, it's also fine to take things slow and to actually get to know someone and to see what they're about. Because something that I preach is that you guys don't even know what, you know, hot or beautiful really is, because you're judging based on the exterior and you're not judging based off of the internal, and you're not actually getting to know the person and see where their true beauty lies, which is in their mind. Okay, not just in their breast or their ass or whatever that is all about. But I'm going to drop another quote. So Josh Harris said that dating now is a lot like going shopping when you don't have any money. Even if you find the right thing, you can't do anything about it. But let's say that you do have some money and you want to go shopping and you want to improve your fashion. Now, what are some tips that you would give guys to improve their fashion so that when they do get in front of the camera, they look good for Instagram and Tinder and all those good dating and social media apps?
Yeah, I mean, fashion's a big one. You know, I do consults all the time. I'm doing a whole section on it in my product. The way I really split it up is there's three main sort of categories towards fashion. It's like there's your coloring, there's style, and then there's fit. You know, you really have to master and understand those three because everyone has certain colors that fit their skin tone. For example, it's like one way you know that the shirt you're wearing is not the right color for you is if your attention goes straight to the shirt itself and not your skin, it's the wrong fucking color. So for me, like if I was to wear like a fucking, let's say a pink shirt, like your attention would go straight to the fucking shirt and it would look pretty fucking terrible. Also, you don't want to wear colors that are
Real men don't wear pink. Hudson, real men don't wear pink.
Never said that, bro. I have pink in my pigment, so if I was to wear pink, it looks shit. You never want to wear colors that you have within your pigmentation because it clashes. So that's like another rule of coloring. There's fucking heaps of them I could just like go on. Fit, guys often wear clothes that are way too baggy. Tighter is better for the most part. There is such a thing as too tight. That's definitely a fucking thing. But you know, a lot of dudes are scared to wear skinny jeans. It's like the fuck. It's like skinny jeans like the new normal. You know.
Well, you're in Melbourne though. Like I want you to go on and I want you to continue with your step number 3 in a sec. But like in terms of fit, right, in Melbourne especially, because it's different than the style in Brisbane, which is different than the style in Sydney. You've got a lot of more hipster vibes, and maybe you get like some retro hoodie that's kind of like oversized, or a shirt that's a little bit baggy, okay, or a jean jacket or something like that. I know that, you know, my idea of fit and style was really, you know, just torn apart, okay, and shaken like a fucking mojito. And I was dating a girl from Australia, from Perth, who's, you know, she's like a fashion model, and she would take me to the vintage retro fashion store and put on some like shit that I would never think I would wear. And she's like, okay, now you look cool. So when you're doing these, you know, style consults, are there, you know, different looks considering on what type of girl the guy is trying to attract, or what type of personality that guy has, you know, in general?
Yeah, I mean, I think like with fit and that kind of thing, it's like, yeah, universally, I think skinny fit is like pretty much the norm. Um, yeah, it's, but yet my goal is not necessarily to pick the clothes that are like in abidance with like the high end fucking hipster trends or something like that. It's more about what looks are gonna make him the most fucking attractive. You know, that's my fucking goal. It's like it's very much dating focused. It has no sort of biases. It's and I find that yeah, skinnier fits tend to make the body look better. You know, so that I'll take into consideration a lot more than, let's say, you know, some hipster trend. But that said, maybe sometimes those hipster trends can be the guy's most attractive look. So it does depend a lot on like the individual, what they look like, what sort of demographic they're going for, what strengths they have as a person. One thing I've found though is like a lot of guys don't really have a strong identity, and they don't even really know how to even express themselves with how they dress. So that's something I help them with too, says me wearing a fucking plain ass t-shirt. But yeah, it's definitely important that they have a distinct look, especially because, you know, I'll talk a lot in terms of kind of like SMV, right? I know it's a fucking cringy term, but like someone's overall sort of physical attractiveness. It's like if you're not the best looking dude, then what you should really be doing is trying to cultivate a very unique kind of style, right? Like if you look at
what's SMV to the guys that aren't into the pickup scene?
Sexual market value.
Sexual market value. What does that mean exactly?
Well, it's Yeah, I mean, like the name suggests, if you were to visualize the dating space or the, sexual market as like literally a marketplace, it's like everyone has sort of like this value. And yes, it is somewhat arbitrary. I definitely agree with that. But I do believe that there are consistent sort of characteristics that women across the board tend to find more attractive than others.
All right, so we had color and we had fit. Was there anything else that they should focus on in their fashion?
Yeah, the third thing was like style. So that's ultimately about what your clothes are saying about you. I always say like fashion is an unspoken language.
Yeah.
It's like what you wear is telling the girl instantly about where you fit into the world, like what you do, what you're about, what you believe, what your values are. Like we all do this shit. We all look at someone, we're all like instantly in our mind, unless we're fucking like enlightened, some Buddha or some shit, we're going to judge someone based on what they're wearing, and we're gonna be.
I mean, you could be a
using.
style. You could be like a fashion. You could be like a stylish Buddha. No.
You could be, but most people, yeah, we don't look past that shit. We do categorize people as soon as we meet them.
Maybe we need like some more mainstream, enlightened folk who like really know how to dress.
Can be good. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it,
I think though that this one is okay, so the color, I definitely agree with you. There are certain colors that guys need to like stay away from. And that was why I went to
guy, that's the thing to
what's
remember.
up?
There are certain
Yeah.
colors that certain individuals and certain that don't. Yeah.
Yeah. For the individual, but also like I went to Milan, Italy, right before I got out of the army. And like one thing I noticed, and this is the fashion capital of the world, everyone was dressed in like white, gray, and black. And it's like, if you're not very good with fashion, I advise guys, just pick those three colors. All right. Keep it pretty basic. And then, as you said, all right, go with that kind of slimmer fit. Maybe not skinny jeans. I don't know. That's not my style, but like more slim, more tight to the body. Okay. Especially if you're, physically active and you're doing body weight exercises, you're getting into the gym, you're eating well, that can really show your body, which is good rather than hide it. But then the style, I feel like something that I've come to realize is that, it can really vary depending on which type of girl you want to attract. Because if you put on a suit and tie, certain girls are going to be like, whoa, that's so sexy. And others are going to be like, nah, not my style. Whereas another girl would be like, oh my gosh, he's got like this leather jacket, okay, or he looks like this biker dude with tattoos and earrings, and chains around his neck. And that is what is really attractive. Or the gaming nerd, So I really feel like the style is just like, it depends on the individual. And as you said, the problem is guys don't know who they are. They just fall in line with the trends rather than really discovering what do they like, what do they love, and then optimizing that to their own success.
Yeah, definitely. I refer to that as like demographics. And one thing I'll say is like guys are trying to be like Ash Ketchum from fucking Pokemon. It's like catch them all. But the thing is, when you don't have like a strong polarizing kind of identity, it's like you end up getting into this sort of zone where it's like you're only somewhat attractive to like a lot of women, but not really attractive to some. So
this is a nice crossover between, I always like the correlation between like business and dating, right? And the same thing in business, you can't attract everyone. Okay. You can't do business with everyone. So if you're going to be like a little bit polarizing, all right, but at least you stand out to your tribe, to the people that resonate with your voice, that's better rather than trying to assimilate to everyone, rather than trying to, be the nice, friendly, yes man. Okay. You know when to say no, when to stand up for what you believe in. And when you do that, the people who have the same morals and the same values will naturally be attracted to you and they'll want to work with you.
Yeah, one thing I've found super fucking interesting is like you definitely attract what you are. Like through like taking clients' profiles and then sort of like launching their accounts, seeing who they match with, it's like literally they're matching with their female equivalent. Like,
beautiful. So now we've got down some ideas on how to text. We've got the style. Okay. Next step is we want to get in front of the camera and take some good pictures so that the girls will actually match with us, or that they'll actually respond to us on Instagram or Facebook or TikTok or wherever you're at. So what are some tips for guys when they get in front of the camera to be more natural and more chill? And what are some good, kind of locations in general that they can look for to get those pictures that will actually, be authentic and be real?
See, there's many sort of facets of that. One thing people have to keep in mind is like literally online dating is fucking brutal. Like top 20, 10% of guys get like 80, 90% of the girls. Like that is 100% true. So you have to keep that in mind. In terms of actually taking the right shots, one thing I focus on a fuck ton is body language and expressions.
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of like regular photographers really fuck this up. I always say to people is like, I'm kind of like a dating coach slash, guy who understands psychology and marketing first, photographer second.
Yeah.
It's like your body language, your expressions, what you're wearing, the backdrop. I'm always thinking about what are these facets, what are they telling the girl about you? What are they conveying? That's how I'm always thinking. And it's very true that, displaying things like status and displaying an attractive lifestyle, those things are really important, So I really make an effort to display that in shots, to display like good surroundings, to make it clear that you're a well put together guy that has like an attractive life. I think that's really important. In terms of the actual shoots themselves, like getting people calm, I always get people to, take deep breaths, meditate before the shoot if they can. Meditation's big. One thing I'm always big on is like power versus force. I don't know if you've read that book by like David Hawkins, but it's a principle.
I know Letting Go. I know Letting Go by David Hawkins.
I mean, he's a controversial character. It's like not everyone agrees with him. But that whole concept of power versus force, it's like even when you're sort of, you're in front of the camera and you're kind of moving around. I don't like to say the word posing. When I'm taking shots, I'm always getting people moving. I'm just getting people in fucking motion. I'm telling them to do different things. And it's almost like I'm kind of distracting them and getting certain expressions out of them and then just like snapping at the perfect moment when they're in motion. But one thing I'll tell them to do is don't like force your movements. It's like make all your movements kind of relaxed. So, if I tell someone, turn your head that way, it's like, don't be like, it's like relaxed, all sort of like relaxed movements.
So
body language.
I see in your profile that you don't have any pictures where you're actually looking at the camera that you posted on your profile on Instagram. What's your opinion of that? Actually having pictures where you look into the camera, because I know certain guys preach, being in the background, which is not actually the case in your pictures, being in the background with some landscape and then just looking off, which I think at times can be okay. But if every picture looks like that, it seems really try hard. So why would you, look off to the side as opposed to look straight into the lens?
Well, for me, it's very straightforward. It's like I very much knew that one of my strengths was like jawline. So like, and I know that for me, it's like if I look to my right, it's like my best angle. So if I was looking at the camera straight ahead, it wouldn't be as good. So I just knew that straight up.
If it wasn't as good though, do you think that would necessarily be bad for a girl?
It would mean less.
But what if it actually meant matching with the right girl because she was also not looking for perfection, and instead of taking the perfectionist mindset, you were just trying to embody your most authentic self and show yourself to the world?
authentic kind of approach. Like I said, there's two approaches to dating, right? It's like there's like the authentic kind of approach, and then there's kind of like the fucking technical Machiavellian shit, you know. And I'm experimenting with both. All I can say is you can get very, you know, insane fucking results, and you can be very fucking efficient when you can manage all these perceptions and have that perfectionist mindset. But then at the same time, it's like, who fucking really cares, you know? So it's like there's two ways of approaching it, right?
Who cares? And also, I'm going to drop two other points. It's like, one, who cares? Two, can you keep that up forever? Okay. And three, you know, why put on that facade? Why not just destroy it? You know, be your authentic self. Okay. Drop the perfectionist label and actually show who you really are.
The thing with like authentic self is like, if we're really honest, very few people are in touch with that. Like literally, when people say just be yourself, and like most people's idea of themselves isn't the true self, right? It's not like the true self that Carl Jung talks about, right? It's like it's who they think they are. It's still a self-image. So a lot of the people that think they're being authentic are still just in alignment with a certain idea of themselves that isn't truly the authentic self. Like unless you've really gotten to a point where you live mindfully and you're able to observe your thoughts and emotions, your behavioral loops, or your patterns, well, then you're still operating off some kind of arbitrary personality that you've created. And then my kind of thinking was, well, if you're gonna operate, you know, based on some arbitrary personality, why not change your self-image to like, you know, a very attractive one? But again, being in touch with the authentic self is, yeah, it's a whole other thing, but most people aren't there.
And I think that's a great point, is that being authentic is actually a lot more difficult because, you know, to many, authenticity is bullshit since you can't even define it. It's such an arbitrary term. It's such a buzzword these days that people just throw around, okay? And they say, oh, this is authentic, but behind that authentic, you know, facade is something that you actually are, but you're not showing it because you have complete control and manipulation over what you want people to believe is authentic. So then there's a real big paradigm, you know, dysfunction there between, okay, do I take this more technical approach or do I go authentic? But what does it even mean to be authentic? And that's why I always question guys on that, just to get them to start thinking about who am I? You know, what are my flaws? What are my, you know, positive traits? Where is my innate value? And if I can start to dive deeper into that, well, then maybe I can get a better sense of who am I or who am I not. And when they discover who am I not,
the thing is,
yeah,
like when you look at like the shadow, for example, and like that kind of thing, it's like we all have the potential to be so many things. Like every single human being ever has the potential to be a fucking serial killer, right? It's like it's there.
Well, which one are you going to embrace?
What I've experienced,
you can usually pick like between 3 to 5 things that you want to really focus on in your life, okay, and get really good at if you're doing it correctly. And then you can embody that and show that to the world. I saw actually in your group that one of the guys, he threw up a bunch of photos and he was asking for your advice. And you were just like, bro, these pictures are not that great. Why don't you go get a picture of yourself doing yoga or meditating? Okay, that'll actually be what the girl would like to see. And I completely agreed with that stance because, you know, when I'll take guys out on photo shoots, like sometimes we'll do those pictures where they're like looking off and looking stylish. And other times it'll just be like, all right, let's play the guitar. Let's do some yoga. Let's meditate. You know, let me get you in your natural light of you doing things that you actually are passionate about, because you actually look different for the camera as well when you're doing that.
Yeah, I always try to get activity shots where they're actually doing things. I think that's, like I said, it's important to display, yeah, an attractive lifestyle. But yeah, going back to the whole like identity thing, another thing I've realized is a lot of guys that claim to sort of be authentic and this sort of thing view themselves, they have all these kind of limiting beliefs. Like they may view themselves being like, a chill guy, or like I'm not douchey, I'm not hypersexual, I'm not like an alpha male, I'm not like one of those douchebags, right? So then they'll try to be like this meek, sort of like authentic, kind of like, yeah, I'm real. But it's like, motherfucker, to me, it's just like they're just as superficial as the guy who's trying to be all alpha. It's like they're both still set identities. Like the true self can't really be defined.
Well, I think we're going to leave the debate open for discussion, and you guys can comment below. What do you think? Should you be authentic with your, perception that you're trying to put out, or should you take a more technical approach and try to find like what is attractive to the masses, or what is attractive to yourself? Okay, and I think that's one that we could continue talking about
I think like
for many months to
on that,
come.
like one last note, I think it's not necessarily bad to have an ego, or to have a self-image, or to have a certain perception of yourself, but I think it's just important to realize that it is something you've made up, that is sort of arbitrary. The way I view it is it's something that it's malleable. You can change it, you can play with it. It's never set in stone. It's always evolving. You should never be too attached to any identity, I don't think.
Beautiful. And you have evolved as well and found your authentic voice more and more as you've started to break away from, classical, pickup and red pill ideology, I can tell, which is quite interesting. One of the reasons why I wanted to bring you on this podcast and highlight you and your group. Now, let's break down our final topic of the day, which is Instagram. Okay. I want to get into the female psychology of a girl who's on Instagram who is getting likes and getting followers and getting tons of messages. How do you break through the wall and get into her, DM and actually get her attention when she's already getting so much validation?
Oh man, it's tough. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
One thing for certain, you need a really good fucking Instagram. Like it's high. Like the entry point for Instagram game is high. Like you need
And when you say you need a really good Instagram, does that mean that you need a lot of followers and likes?
No, it's not necessarily about that. It's more about conveying a very attractive lifestyle, conveying that you are like high status, that you're cut above the average dude. If you're gonna be DMing hot girls on Instagram, you can't just come across as like a regular dude on Instagram. It's like you're just not gonna cut through. Like, so you need to really set yourself apart and convey, a really attractive lifestyle. Also have just like attractive pics. It's like physically attractive pics. It's like if you're a hot guy, well, yeah, obviously that's a massive plus.
David Hasselhoff, like take the shirt off, Baywatch at the beach.
Yeah, exactly. And show like different, sides of your personality. Like have shots smiling, you with a fucking dog. It's like it's attractive when you can show various sides to what you can be. I think that's important. Also, how you open the girls. You can't be super direct when you message girls on Instagram because you'll just come across as socially unaware. So
you're taking a more indirect approach. You're taking a more indirect approach to cold messaging a girl on Instagram.
Kind of like a socially calibrated, direct kind of approach. Like
can
I'll
you give
usually,
an example?
Yeah, I'll be like, hey, like I saw you, you're cute. I figured I'd say hi. Like, are you from Melbourne? Something that comes across. It's almost like a little chody. You know what I mean? Like it's almost like a little bit, kind of like it almost seems a bit soft, but it's kind of like you're conveying that you're like aware it's not particularly normal to just cold message a girl on Instagram. So you're showing like that social awareness of like you're giving an explanation as to why you're doing it. So you're making it seem sort of like spontaneous. You're like, hey, I saw you, like you're really cute. I figured I'd say what's up, like you from Melbourne. Like you need some kind of explanation. Don't just roll in and be like, hey, trouble, because you know, there's not that pre-established dynamic that you have on Tinder where it's like you both like each other.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm usually taking the former status or former stance that you just implied, which is, you know, make it seem more spontaneous, make it seem more random, more real. You know, I just saw you, I thought I had to reach out. You know, it's you're probably getting hit up by so many guys, or I know this is really random, and showing that social intelligence, that social awareness. Okay. And even when you do that, as Hudson said, don't get discouraged if the first 100 girls don't even respond to your messages, because it's not, you know, it's not an easy mission to go and start cold messaging girls on Instagram and expect a response, especially when you don't have a profile that's built up with a certain, you know, level of status, okay, and intrigue and adventure. And I know that is something that, you know, we saved till this part of the interview, but this is something that I really worked on as I traveled the world. All right, I didn't have many skills in terms of creative hobbies. I have a lot of regrets around not playing musical instruments. So when I bought a camera, it was like, how do I get really good at this and use this to better my life? And one of the ways that, you know, it really benefited my life initially was I would take pictures in different places as I was traveling the world, and that showed that I was, you know, into travel, that I was adventurous, or okay, that I was getting out there, that I was doing things, I was active. And then when I would exchange Instagram with a girl that I would meet in person, or even on Tinder, if we would move over to Instagram, it would be much more likely that she would meet up with me afterwards, that we would go on a date, that we would continue the conversation, because I had put time and effort and work into that. And a lot of guys, they get disillusioned by the fact that, you know, there is a certain level of inauthenticity and fakeness that goes along with taking pictures and posting them online. But at the end of the day, you either choose to be a part of the game or to, you know, go your own way and do your own thing, which, I mean, honestly, I don't really condone. Like, I think that it's stupid. I think that, you know, you can have your own views, but like at least have a basic Instagram to show people so that they get an understanding of who you are and what you're interested in. You don't need thousands of followers or hundreds of likes. Okay. You don't even need hundreds of pictures. For me, it's like, get that basic grid down. Okay. Present that to people when you meet them. All right. And don't disqualify yourself. So a lot of key notes there of things that, you know, I teach guys when it comes to online dating and female psychology. Because, for example, one girl that I met when I was traveling, she said that I won't actually meet up with a guy if he doesn't have any Instagram, because to me, it just seems weird. And I was like, wait, really? That sounds so superficial. But in the end of the day, all right, we're not living in the 1960s anymore. Instagram is very mainstream, it's very normal. So if you don't have an Instagram, all right, that can be a disqualifier for you as well. So
I think like I said before, it's like everyone is fucking run by their monkey brains. Like,
yeah,
this is Western society. Like, we don't live in a fucking culture where people are meditating 10 hours a day and are like super fucking aware. It's like,
it would be nice, you know. We can go to the cave and sing Kumbaya, and I'm gonna do that at some point. But you know, when I'm not in India meditating, all right, and I'm back in the mainstream, you know, my reality is what I create.
yeah, and like I said, like a lot of these guys that think they're being really authentic are like just as superficial as like those who are like, you know, all about the Instagram clout. It's just like they're almost like, now they've got an ego around being like non-superficial, but it's like it's just another form of fucking clinging. It's like
Well, to each their own. I definitely understand the more technical approach and think that it can be very beneficial up to a certain point, and then understanding the authentic approach and kind of, you know, molding both of them together, melding both of them together, can be very effective as well, and help you
yeah.
to understand female psychology and also understand yourself. Okay. And when you do that, you have a very heightened level of awareness when it comes to social dynamics and dating.
Mm.
So, that's
I
kind of
just think you
my
have that
approach.
in mind. I think too many dating coaches are too like dogmatic.
Mhm.
It's like they're too like one way or the other. It's like, everything's true from where you're standing. It's like it's so that there's so many different ways you could look at things.
I was talking to a guy about this who's an authenticity coach, and he said, if you're going to just follow that teacher, okay, they're going to tell you that everything that that guy says is wrong, but everything that I say is right. All right. You're just stepping from one paradigm into the other. So, as we've talked about on this podcast, better to question everything, understand what resonates with you. Okay. What are your values and your morals, and what do you stand for? Okay. How do you want to evolve your life? All right. Rather than following the dogma of someone else. Okay. You can always learn from other people, and that can help you to grow and get to higher levels of consciousness and awareness. But in the end of the day, it's up to you and only you to decide where you want to go in your life.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, yeah, there's pros and cons to different approaches.
All right, Hudson, it's been awesome sitting down with you. Final question that I ask most of the guests: how do you want to evolve your business and your dating life over the next 12 months?
Business. Well, the product's coming out soon, so that's going to be really fucking exciting.
It's an online dating product.
Yeah, so it's all on. It'll be on fashion. It'll be on profiles. It'll be on texting itself. Even like on the date, what to do after the date. We've got Miyoki's doing a mini course on sex itself. Yeah, it's going to be fucking huge. And then I plan to travel a lot once I'm actually fucking allowed to. Here in Australia, it's like we still can't travel. But once I can, I'm keen to fucking travel the world and just take photos, do fashion consults. In terms of my own dating life, definitely going to experiment with being more like authentic, you know. A bit more vulnerable, speaking my minds. We'll see how it goes.
Beautiful. Well, you have to update us about that. And I think that there's a lot of rewards to be reaped by being authentic and discovering, your true self. And I think you've already seen that as we've connected, through Thomas and both gone through our own evolution, okay, out of the game and into who we really are. So it's been a pleasure sitting down with you today. The best way for them to find you is Hudson Greening on Facebook.
Yeah, and join the group, Evolve Social.
Boom.
Yeah.
Evolve Social. Guys, if you want more advice on online dating, he's definitely a great guy to consult with. All right, my man. It's been great. Talk to you soon. Peace.
Yeah, talk soon.